This is about the redesign of Covington High School and an update on the profile of Virginia graduate. And the first document I'm going to give you is what I gave out a number of months ago about the timeline of redesign of Covington High School, incorporating the profile of Virginia grad. And we said on this document, I've just cleaned it up a little bit because it had a mistake in it, that on October, November, and December, work groups at CHS under the guidance of Derek Cantrell, Chris Jones, Vicki Dooley, and Shannon Furman would work on that, and we would make a presentation to you all about the recommendations from the CHS work groups about what they think about the redesign of Covington High School. So tonight, Mr. Cantrell is here. Dr. Furman, I don't think, has made it back yet. Then in January and February, we hope to have some parent and community input at Covington High School and Jeter Watson to let families know what we're hoping will happen, is going to need to happen. And this is the latest document on what Mr. Cantrell is going to outline for you about the work of the work groups at Covington High School. And it does include a presentation on the consideration of a block schedule.
As Ms. Dean Johnson said, we developed 5 working committees at our high school with our department chairs as the leaders of those groups. We broke it down into scheduling, curriculum, project-based learning and assessment, also work-based learning and preparation that's a part of the profile of Virginia graduates, and professional development that we would need moving forward. We also met with our student leadership team, me and Ms. Dean Johnson did, to get a little bit of input from the students as well about the changes that are coming. The first group with the scheduling committee, we kind of took some of the things that we talked about last year, laying the groundwork for some of the changes that we feel that are needed at our high school to help us along the way with that, and took it a step further and actually went to Eastern Montgomery High School, where Principal Danny Knott was very, open to letting us come and see how their school runs and how they utilize block scheduling. And he's also asked for us if we, if our teachers want to go later on in the process and talk with department heads, that's a possibility. Our committee, we took input, we asked questions, they worked back and forth with staff members throughout the school. And once we had a vote, it was a unanimous decision by our committee to try to move forward with a 4x4 block schedule to help us with the implementation of a profile of Virginia graduate. And we also thought that there would be some real benefits to JRTC for our students. With that extra period, students on an advanced diploma would still get to go there. So that's a good step too. The schedule part, what I tried to do there with that next part is to make a schedule that's the same instructional day time that we have. It is a little bit later start so that JRTC students would fit that. And that can be tweaked a little bit as needed, but we've worked with Mr. Spangler with that schedule as well. And it also is built in for if we do remediation power hour, that will fit into that schedule with that time, no extra time added to our day. The second part, the curriculum group, they looked at, what the 4x4 would look like at Covington High School. Would we have any additional courses? There were some people that did put some of those, and those will come before you guys, I would assume next month, with the proposal for a few additional courses. We had a Earth Science 2, which is an astronomy class. Ms. Tyree had an aerobics activity, some Zumba, line dancing, and some different things that she would like to offer through the PE curriculum. And there was also some talk of a CTE course that we're working on with that as well. The group also developed a kind of working master schedule. I think it's in your packet there at the back. Each department kind of went with the number of kids we had in each grade level. It's not a final document, to see how many sections they think they would need and what a 4x4 block would look like for Covington High School. And those numbers would change slightly once we get in the scheduling process with tallies and what the kids need. But the other good part of that is there's also built-in remediation for a student that would fail something. They could take it second semester or have that option as well. The next part.
I'm sorry, but when you say built-in remediation, where?
Well, like if a student failed a math class, we've had summer school, you kind of have that built into the schedule where they could retake it instead of having
As a second
semester.
section?
Correct.
Okay. Not
So
as
it helps a little bit with a student that
not
fails
as a
an
separate
opportunity.
time.
Yes,
for
sir.
So if
the
you have
second
one student
section.
fails Algebra 1, that one student will have an opportunity to take Algebra 1 the
Correct.
second
Correct.
semester.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Which helps us a little bit along the way. You know, you might not have to offer as much summer school. and
But
different
with
things.
that then, I mean, is there going to be a teacher there daily in that block and remediation? Is going to be a teacher for algebra for one student?
There would be another section of algebra. It'd
It would be
both.
another
Another group of
section.
students will be taking that class.
Yeah, it wouldn't be remediation,
And
it
it
would just be allowed to take that class again
Correct.
at a different
The
second
project,
section.
the project-based learning, I got it.
And this is just preliminary.
Mhm.
We don't know the numbers and what it could like.
Right.
This is just a first opportunity for you all to look at it and ask questions that you're doing.
So with that being said, again, then again, and that's one of the big things I have is the math, and we had a discussion when we talked about block before. Tell me again how this will operate. The kid fails Algebra 1 first semester. Where is he that second semester?
If he fails Algebra 1 first semester, he would be able to take Algebra 1 again second semester.
Is Algebra 1 being offered second
Yes,
semester?
yes, it would be.
So we'll have 2 semesters
Yeah.
of every class?
Yeah, pretty much. And you also
So
have the
not
power
necessarily.
hour for the remediation to get that as well throughout, so hopefully you don't get to that point. But he would have remediation and an opportunity to take it second semester.
And in most classes, we're going to have enough students to have 2 semesters a year of that same class? Because when we looked at before, we didn't have that.
Mhm.
Isn't that right, Melinda? That's where we had a problem?
I wasn't involved
Okay.
last time. I really don't.
But that's what I recall,
Dr.
that
wasn't.
that
She's
we
not
had,
here tonight.
we had an outline of classes, and it was at that time considered impossible. And the big obstacle that came up, that from semester 1, you would be the next year taking that class, because there weren't enough students, enough classes offered, that could always happen.
Well, like say for earth science, for an earth science teacher that has 4 sections of earth science and taking 1 ecology both semesters. So they'd possibly have 2 ecologies and an earth science, and an earth science the first semester, and then you'd have the match of the second semester, or maybe an extra earth science, so that you'd have students that could take those both semesters. It would match up with that. If a student failed, you would add 1 to the next group that would take it second semester with that part. The next section, project-based learning and assessment, that's a move that the state's working towards with definitely social studies, and I believe writing for 8th grade and 11th grade is going to move later in the process to that performance-based assessment. We kind of looked at what that was, what kind of rubrics would be needed that the State Department offers with that, and how we would move forward and what it would look like at Covington High School with the social studies most likely doing 1 per semester to cover the SOLs that are required. And that's a work in progress with those groups there, and we would have some professional development for the teachers throughout with that. The work-based learning committee, that's the part where we're asking our students to get ideas of what they want to do in the future. Kind of the rough description would be 8th, 9th grade, a career exploration course, something that they could figure out what their interests are moving forward, then a job shadowing experience or a mentoring experience in the 9th and 10th grade, and finally 11th and 12th grade, getting them into some work experiences and some career prep. There's also a very good chart that came out recently in the back of your handbook, of your handout there, that has all of that broken down and how it works from the state of Virginia. And we also had some items to continue to work on within that. And with everything, our professional development committee, found some things that we need to work forward to help us be successful with this endeavor. We felt that we would need some time for pacing guides and lesson plans to change those from 180 days to the 90-day semester. Also, maybe some trips to Eastern Montgomery so that the teachers could go and meet with teachers in their content area to get a little bit more information. And also some professional development activities with classroom management and engagement to keep our students on task for the whole 90 minutes. And I think one good thing for us at Covington High School is we have a lot of teachers that have taught on the block in our building that could be a good driving force to help us with this professional development moving forward. And also the last part was the project-based learning and assessment opportunities to help with some professional development. So that's a quick run through of our program. I tried to condense it a little bit from the information that our committees gave, but they've done some good work over the last few months to help get this document together for you guys.
The committees are making the recommendation of the block sections based on what I see in one of this, is that they're at least 95 minutes to 100 minutes in each of the sections. Is that correct?
For the committees,
Well, that's what I'm
that's the
seeing at the
schedule I put
committee.
in, yeah.
Okay.
That's the schedule I put to work up with Jared,
Okay,
yeah.
but then you mentioned remediation on top of that.
Right, with remediation due with the corrective action plan from the state of Virginia, we have that where we can build that into our schedule, whether we do it in a block, a couple days a week, a power hour, whatever method we choose to go forward with that.
What statistics do you have showing the results of remediation?
We try to monitor our 6 weeks grades and our growth and try to monitor what students and help they're getting to ensure that they're getting the success moving forward. And our data from last year, as we move forward each year, we should be able to get more data to demonstrate how that's helping.
And last year, I'm just curious, last year the remediation was inputted or implemented back into the system
Correct.
for the first time. How were we with accreditation last year? Did we meet it on our scores? On our actual scores?
At Covington High School. Year before
Not
last.
utilizing.
Three-year
Math was the three-year
In math,
average.
I believe we had to use, Dr. Furman, we had to use a
Yeah,
three-year
average
average.
in
in
math.
Okay.
math, yeah.
But remediation was put in last year. The year before, remediation was taken out and more time was put in the classroom,
Mhm.
so that the students had more time to actually learn in the classroom
Right.
session. Were we fully accredited that year when remediation was removed through test scores?
Yes.
I thought we were in our 4th year of warning, if we didn't.
We were
actually-
accredited the second year I was principal, which would have been,
Which was the year that that remediation was removed,
yes, and
correct?
time was
And more
increased in
time was
each
put in the
classroom.
classroom. So less time
Yes.
taken
And that's
out of the
why-
classroom.
And that's why we put these minutes in.
Right.
That's,
Yeah.
that's very good.
Power hour is
Power
not-
hour
is
is not
It's
part
still
of
up for
this
discussion,
It's not
right,
a
yeah.
definite. It's just a possibility.
But power hour would extend the day.
No.
You would
Then you
most
would
likely
take
take
time out of
5
it.
minutes or so out of.
So you'd be at
each block.
95, 90, 99. yeah.
But again, taking time out of the classroom where the success has been shown that time in the classroom is more successful than remediation and power hour.
Yes, and Dr. Furman has argued about that is what's needed, and that's why you see those minutes that you see right now. This is just our first.
Right. I
Well,
didn't
also,
want us to
what-
get sidetracked, that we lose sight of the fact we need that
And also,
classroom time.
before you go, can I say something? Our special ed students are still under a corrective action plan, and now it's called a change action plan, because we're still not doing exactly all that we need for our special ed students. And we have been, I'm not going to, maybe scolded or told that we need to have a built-in remediation period for students, and this was one way we did it. Are there other ways we could do it? There's a possibility. Dr. Furman believes strongly that the minutes need to be during the day, and perhaps, as he mentioned before, that it could be a 3-day a week, one day a week. It could be remediation for,
A 0 period or something. There's a lot of different alternatives.
I just
that
don't
we're
want to
looking
see
at.
us take away from classroom
Right.
time, because we've seen the success with the greater classroom time that has resulted in greater success for our students. I would hate to see us move away from that.
And in
with
regards
block
to that
schedule.
too,
Yes,
there's most likely an optimal amount of time per block.
That you need.
It may not be 95 minutes, it may be 85 minutes that you could maintain that student's attention span for that
I do
particular
think
subject.
the
So
success or the standard in-block scheduling is at least 95, 90 minutes, 90, 94, 95 minutes.
we have to get in the clock hours, okay? And
Right.
we're going to be on a semester now, so we also have to build in bank time for each semester, because if we have a snow event, like we're having right now, we've got to have, now we're on semesters, so we have to make sure block semesters that every student has enough clock hours during that semester to get that credit hour. So it's even more important that we have enough.
But they have
minutes.
them in the classroom.
and if you
Yep.
have a shortened day or whatever,
And we're not trying to lengthen the day at all. We're trying to keep it in, but we're also trying to look at what JRTC has when our buses leave, so we can make.
I do like the idea of that first block. I think having a 100-minute time frame that you proposed here allows for the kids not to miss much coming out of JRTC, right? I mean, I think that's pretty positive for the JRT students, TC students.
That 90-minute time frame, I agree with that.
90,
90 to
I think it needs to be
95,
close to
and
that 95.
So,
We
and
can't
if
take
you
that
were,
away
if
from
you
our
were to
students.
take any time from that for whatever other, program you're going to implement, I wouldn't have more than 5 minutes
Right.
removed from that.
And on an early day or 2-hour late day, the good thing about this is you still get about an hour of instruction time instead of like the 25 minutes on a 7 period. So you get a good chunk of
They
time
barely
for
get
that.
settled by the time they're into the classroom.
To
and
get
they're
through
turning
around. So that was one
Next
Eastern
class.
Montgomery
Yeah.
threw out there. When you have a day that's shortened or an early release, you still get a good chunk
You
of instruction.
could still administer a test or
Right.
Which
you know,
that's
follow
what
the
they do on
lesson
a day
plan
like
or
tomorrow
anything like
morning.
that.
Well, I think it has shown success because we actually have this in the middle schools from the standpoint,
Math,
while they do it
right.
180 days, and I understand, but the students have really
They're used to
benefited
it.
from
Yes.
having
More time.
more time in the classroom, more seat time in the classes, not pulling them out for things such as remediation and other things. I think that's important.
So this is what we said we would do. We'd like to have your thoughts and your input and your questions answered before we come back in February and talk about it again, and perhaps in March as well. And we are going to schedule some meetings to talk to the community about what we plan to do, and think we need to do, and how we're going to.
Wouldn't you think that we would need to have this approved by March in order to give time for preparation and, I mean, I don't know.
Yes, I don't want to overwhelm the
Guidance.
12-month employees in preparing or
Right,
11
they need as
months
much
preparing
time as
over
possible.
the summer. I would like
Right.
for them to be, prepared,
Yeah.
and ready to go.
Timeline, do you think that's the first presentation? Is that what we were looking at?
This was the first presentation, and we thought we could do some meetings and bring it back to you in March. We hope to maybe go visit Eastern Montgomery in February and look at what they've done, have some more committee meetings and talk about some more things, like the things you brought up about the amount of time and
Yeah.
remediation, courses, schedules. These are all just ideas.
No,
Something I would like to see, because we approached this some before, which was kind of short-lived, but just in simple form, a list of advantages. Why should we do this? Just a list. That why you all believe this is the best way to go.
Okay.
Because it hasn't been but a few years ago that we were on the total other side of the equation. It seemed like it wasn't the thing to do. And a lot of support out for that idea.